I've actually got my forms right here for me to use as reference. And we will go through this. I will put it on the screen here for you. I don't know which side it's on. I think it's on this side. And you can follow through with me here while I go through it. All right, let's go ahead and get started here with section 1. Now, section 1 is just 2 questions that you have to answer yes to both of them. The first question is, does the gun weigh at least 64 ounces? Well, this gun's 96 ounces, so yes, it does fit that criteria. So next question would be, the weapon must have an overall length between 12 and 26 inches. And remember, that's not with the stock, that's the weapon, not the stock. A lot of people think, well, with the stock on it, if it's over 26 inches, it's non-compliant. No, that's the weapon itself. This weapon is around 18 inches long, so it fits the criteria. So section 1 is a pass. We can actually move on to section 2. All right, section 2 here, we're going to start looking at the actual design of the pistol brace itself. Now, the first section is accessory design. How is it designed? And there's 3 options. Option 1, not based on a known shoulder stock design. Option 2, incorporates shoulder stock design features. And number 3, based on a known shoulder stock design. Well, this one, even though it is not based on a shoulder stock design, so therefore it is not that option, it would not get 2 points. I can't say that it's not based on any known shoulder stock design because it folds. A lot of stocks fold, so that might be a design element that they're using. So in this case, I'm going to go with the incorporates shoulder stock design features, so that's 1 point. So it now has 1 point. All right, the next category here is rear surface area, and it has 4 options. The first option is device incorporates features that discourage shouldering device. I guess that'd be like spikes on the back or something. I don't know. Number 2 is minimized rear surface lacking features to discourage shouldering. That would be one that doesn't have anything that discourages you from putting it to your shoulder. I guess no spikes or needles, anything like that. Rear surface useful for shouldering the firearm. This rear surface would not be anything anyone would consider useful. It's kind of hard. Material added to increase rear surface for shouldering, like if it had a pad or an extension or anything like that. So in this category, this gun does not have anything added to the back to make it more useful or anything like that, but it does not have any features that would dissuade you from putting it against your shoulder. So it's going to be the second option, where it just minimized rear surface. So it's going to get a point there also. So already 2 points. All right, the next category is really easy. Is it adjustable? Is it telescopic? Yes or no. This one is not, so it's no, so it gets 0 points. If it was yes, it would get 1 point, but it's no in this case because it is not a telescopic brace. So 0 points in that category. All right, the final category in section 2 is stabilizing support. How does it actually work? There's a lot of different options in this one, so let's go through those one by one here. Counterbalance design, non-folding. Counterbalance design that folds, creating rear contact surface. Fin type design with arm strap. Fin type design without arm strap. Cuff type design that fully wraps around arm. Cuff type design that partially wraps around arm. Cuff type design that fails to wrap around arm. Split stock configurations not designed to wrap around the shooter's arm. Now, there's a couple of ways you could look at this. You could look at it, is it a fin type? Well, if you look at it as a fin type, it does have a strap, so it would get 0 points. Is it a cuff type? Well, it is a cuff type, and it does go partially around your arm, and it does have a strap. So in that case, it would get 1 point. I'm going to look at this one as a counterbalance design that does actually fold and have a rear contact surface. I think it's more descriptive of this, which would still get it 1 point, would be the same. So now we are through section 2 and we have a score of 3 points. Now some people think, wow, you can only get 1 more point in the next category. Not the case. That's not how it's judged. You're allowed to get 3 points in this category. When you go over to section 3, you start over. You don't carry the points over, you just go to section 3. So let's go over to section 3 and continue to judge this gun. All right, now in section 3, the first category is length of pull. And this is where I'm going to have to use my little tape measure here. If you look at this brace that's on here, this is an SBT5A. At least I think that's what it was. I forgot to write it down. But this has an advertised length of 10.5 inches. But that doesn't mean it adds a full 10.5 inches to the length of pull, because the length of pull on this gun to the rear of the gun is actually about 4¼ inches. So if you added 10½ inches to that, you'd be way over what you can have. Because the options in this category are less than 10½ inches gets you 0 points, 10½ but under 11½ at least 10½ but under 11½ gets you 1 point, at least 11½ but under 12½ would get you 2 points, at least 12½ but under 13½ would get you 3 points, and if it's over 13½ inches, that's 4 points and you're done. Now, I said yesterday 13¾ inches. I was confusing 13 and 5/16 with 12 3/4, and I was taking the first part of one number and the last part of a number, and I said the wrong number. But anyone who's got one of these can measure. But like I said, this pistol brace here is listed at 10½ inches, but it doesn't add 10½ inches to that 4¼ inches trigger pull, because it actually replaces part of the rear gun. So if you measure the stock, the actual part of the stock itself, from center of the rear of the brace to the front of the brace, that is 10 5/16 inches. 10 5/16 inches. Now, if you measure from the front of the brace to the center of the trigger, which is what you'd have to do to add on to that, it's about 3 inches exactly. I'm going to say 3 1/16 inches just to be safe. So when you add 3 1/16 to 10 5/16, you end up with 13 6/16. You got space to play there. So this would fall into the at least 12½ but under 13½, which would get you 3 points. So this gun right off the bat has 3 points. Now, you might be like, oh, good, still compliant, but still got a lot of categories to go through, and if it gets 1 more point, it's out of the game. So let's continue on here. All right, next category here is attachment method, and this is something I had to call for clarification on because I didn't really understand it. But after going through it with them, makes sense to me, I guess. But I'll go through the category here. The options in this category are standard AR type pistol buffer tube, just a regular 6.5 inch buffer tube, either included with the brace or the brace just slides over it. That would get you 0 points. AR type pistol buffer tube with adjustment notches, that would get you a point. Adjustable rifle buffer tube, that would get you a point. Adjustable PDW type guide rails, that would get you a point. Extended AR type pistol buffer tube, that would get you 2 points. Inclusion of a folding adapter extending length of pull, and that's part I had to call about because this does have a folding adapter on it. But it's not a folding adapter, it's actually integral to the design, so it's not an adapter, it's not an addition. It's not an extra piece you use for attachment. It actually replaces a part on the existing gun, so it doesn't meet that criteria. That's the one I thought it might meet the criteria for. Now remember, you might get 0 points in this. None of these things might be applicable to you. None of them might be applicable. You might just put an NA on this whole section. And that's what I ended up doing because it says use of spacers. This gun doesn't use any spacers. Modified shoulder stock with rear replaced by stabilizing brace. That's not applicable here. Also, attachment method creates an unusable aim point. That means if you actually attached it to your arm, the gun would either be pointing up or pointing down. And I just said that backwards. But this doesn't apply here either. So actually, none of these things apply, period. Because this isn't an AR. It's not attached to an AR. So sometimes categories won't apply at all. Just be a big NA. This doesn't have a buffer tube. It doesn't blah, 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 all these other things. So this gets an NA in that category, no points. And I did call to verify that, so no problem there. All right, the next category is stabilizing brace modifications configuration. Did you make any changes to this? Is it configured in a way outside of the way it was designed to be used? And the options in this category are cuff style or fin type, design with strap too short to function. This strap functions, it's fine. Cuff type or fin type designed with strap made of elastic material. Now I had to call for clarification on this one too. I didn't make multiple calls. I waited till I knew what I had to get clarification on when I called. I said, well, the strap here is stretchy. And they said, does it have a buckle or a fold point? If it does that, it's fine. If it's Velcro, etc. It just can't be like a continuous elastic piece. that you can say, well, we could stretch this out far enough for an arm, but if it's not being used, it just sits in a channel and it's not adjustable, not anything. That's what they mean by that category. And I said, well, that's kind of confusing. Maybe that should be spelled out a little bit more. And they're like, so far it hasn't been a problem. So I guess it hasn't been a problem so far. So no, this would be okay in that category, because that would be bad because if it got the points for just having an elastic band, that'd be 2 points. It's going to be out of the running, but it did not get that. The other options here are fin type, lacking an arm strap. It's got an arm strap. Cuff type, designed with strap removed. That's not happening. Brace accessory, modified for shouldering. It hasn't been modified for shouldering. Modified shoulder stock, originally a shoulder stock. This was never a shoulder stock. So once again, we get no points in this category. We get a not applicable because none of the things in that apply to this gun. And that's one thing people got to remember. Some people are thinking you got to choose one thing in every category. No, some categories have no application to your gun. So in this case, we get a not applicable. All right, next we move on to the last category of section 3, which is peripheral accessories. Things you add onto the gun once you have the brace on there. So one of the things you can get points for is presence of a hand stop. You know those little nubs at the front to keep your hand sliding forward? That would get you points. Now, it wouldn't necessarily disqualify a gun, because if this gun had a length of like 10 1/8 inch long brace on it, that'd be fine because you could afford the points. You'd have 0 points on your gun already. That'd be 2 points you have now. So you could have a forward stop on it. You just couldn't have as long of a brace as you would without one. Another thing is a secondary grip, you know, a straight up and down grip on the front of this gun. I don't understand why they even put this on here, because here's the thing. It's illegal to put one of those on a pistol. So in other words, they're saying here, if you created an illegal pistol by turning it into an AOW or a SBR or whatever, then it's disqualified. Well, that's got nothing to do with the freaking brace. And of course, they give you 4 points for that because you're committing a crime just by putting that on there, whether you have a brace on it or not. So that one's kind of a silly one. I don't know why it's there, but it's there. The next option is presence of a rifle type backup sight, flip up sights, or no sights at all. That meaning if it just has a rail and no sights, no integral sights, or you put on backup sights. If you buy it with backup sights on it, remember, this is more for manufacturers and how they can market it. So if they put it with just a rail and no sights, or they put it out with backup sights or flip up sights, that's going to be points. And that will get you just 1 point. So those things aren't prohibited. It's just if you've used up all your points on the length, like you want this to be as long as possible, because remember, you're wanting to use it as a brace. No, you're not. You're wanting to put it on your shoulder. So you're going to want this to be as long as possible. So you have to sacrifice those things because that would be too much. You're really pushing it too far at that point. Another thing you could lose points for on this right here is presence of a reflex sight with Fts Magnifier with limited eye relief. So if you have a magnifying red dot on here, you're going to get a point. Actually, you're going to get 2 points. So once again, remember, that's 2 points. You can only have one other point. So your stock, it's going to have to be at a length where you only get at least, at most 1 point. This gun has the longer stock, so it can't have that on here, or else it would be disqualified. It would be non-compliant. Another is a presence of a sight scope with eye relief incompatible with one-handed shooting, and that is once again 4 points. And I mentioned that during my video yesterday. Don't put scopes on them that require an eye relief of like 2 inches or 3 inches. It's not going to be legal because that is unusable at arm's length. This is just a hard fixed sight that is usable at arm's length. So these are okay, but if this had like a certain distance you had to be from them to ever use them, they wouldn't work. And that's what the eye relief means. It means how far your eye has to be from the sight for it to work properly. And any sight that has magnification is going to have something like that you're going to have to take care of. So if you put a scope or with eye relief on here, that's 4 points. It disqualifies it. This obviously does not have that. It's not going to get those points. Presence of a bipod or monopod. Now that's because, you know, if you're putting it on a bipod, you're not shooting it one-handed, you're stabilizing it with something else other than just the brace. Now that is not a disqualifier, it's just 2 points. So if your pistol brace is actual forearm length, just to where it can be used as a pistol brace, you're going to be fine with that. Going to work, be fine, and you're going to be able to put a monopod or a bipod on it if you're disabled. So if you're disabled, you can still use a pistol brace that works and a front bipod or a tripod. But not with this stock, you can't. All right, and the final one is weapon as configured, weighs more than 120 ounces. Nope, this is 96 ounces. So this gets nothing from this category either. It has none of those features, so it gets an NA. So in the end, this gun right here gets a total in section 3 of 3 points against it, or 3 strikes as they used to say. So it's still good though, because remember with the ATF, it's 4 strikes and you're out. So this gun would be compliant. Now, could some people try to make an argument that, there's this about the gun would make it non-compliant by 1 point? Yes, of course they could. But that's when you would have recourse to go sue. Because you'd be able to say, hey, this definition doesn't mean this, or this definition doesn't mean that. That's why they make some of the definitions vague. Because if they want to slap on stuff to you, they want it to be vague. But as far as a lot of people out there that are saying, well, these new rules are just so that they can come get us and turn us into felons. No, they didn't come get you years ago when they first made them. They're not going to come get you now. Like I said, they don't charge for these type of offenses. Like I say, when was the last time you saw someone get actually charged just because they made a non-compliant device and they didn't do anything else? They weren't acting shady, doing suspicious things, threatening people, blah, blah, blah. It just doesn't happen because they don't want to do that, because like I say, it risks the law being able to stand in good, be in good standing so they can use it to get plea deals later. So I hope this video clears up some things. I hope just seeing the worksheet itself tells you a little more, because I've had people coming in my live chat saying, on page 33, it does this. And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Go link it to me. Actually, quote the part you're saying it says that, send it to me. And then they're like, oh, I guess, yeah, when you look at the other part and don't take it out of context, it doesn't say that. So that's all I'm asking people. Don't panic. It's that simple. That's all I'm asking. I'm not defending these rules. I'm not defending the ATF. I'm not defending the NFA. I'm someone that believes all those things need to go away completely. But I think we should be spending our time and our efforts and our money actually making them go away. Not living from manufactured crisis to manufactured crisis. And that's what the gun community has been conditioned to do over the last 20 or 30 years. Manufacturers, the NRA, other large gun groups whose money and livelihood depended on you being scared and going out and buying things because you think they might go away, or sending them money so they can fight that fight. They've conditioned you to run from one tragedy to the next so that you'll start opening your wallets. That's what it's all about. Start thinking instead of panicking. Instead of running out and buying, oh, I just went out and bought $1,000 worth of pistol braces because I'm afraid they're going to go away, and I didn't even want a pistol brace, but it'll either be worth a lot of money someday, or at least I'll have them when I need them. And who would ever need a fucking pistol brace? I can't imagine who would need one of those. Just buy you some fucking stocks and keep them around. If things go to shit, put stocks on your rifles, your short barrel, your pistols, because there'll be no ATF or NFA if society collapses and we're having to kill zombies. So I don't know what you're worried about. So, and no, it's not it's not with intent to create. If you've got other guns, you can actually put them on. If you've got one rifle that they could all go on, then you're safe. So do stuff like that. Don't run off and blow your money on a bunch of things you don't even want. And then when it comes time that there's a real fight and they could use your $50, you don't have it. Don't be another one of those groups of people that got suckered by these, like I said, artificial crises to where they end up sitting on a pile of shit they don't want. I've seen it happen so many times because someone who's going to profit off of it blows something out of proportion, and then people end up sitting on magazines they don't want, or bump stocks they don't want and aren't worth anything, or ARs, went and bought too many ARs because they're afraid they were going to go away, and certain types of ammo because they're afraid it's going to go away. You know, it's like we're a bunch of fucking battered spouses who have to live for the drama, and it doesn't have to be that way. If we keep our wits about us, that's the best chance we have. And at a time that we are actually winning our rights back in the court, we're having court cases go to right now the Supreme Court that are very likely to slap down so many gun laws in this country. There's a couple of cases making their way there. We just had a great victory in California. But so much of the gun community is running around like their hair's on fire because Military Arms Channel puts a fear-mongering post on his Instagram saying, "That's it, the bump stocks are gone, no one can use them." I just showed you they can still be legal in the right way. And here's the thing, those were illegal already anyway. If you put them together the way they say now, it's like, oh, if you use this, it's illegal now. It was illegal then, or non-compliant then. None of these things that they're saying, like that one pistol brace they say, can't be used on anything. Well, it's because it could never be used on anything. That's why it was never sent in on a gun and got to get an approval letter, because they couldn't get one, and they knew they couldn't get one. And there were times they tried with similar products and failed. Nothing's really changed. It doesn't change my life or your life. It does change some manufacturers' lives who would love to be able to just put the parts together and then sell you the whole thing and make more profit than they would sell it to you piece by piece. But other than that, not a real big change here. But like I said, there's so many people out there that want to profit off of situations like this. Want you to send money to the big national gun groups. Even the gun channels want you to do that because then they get their little kickback every time you use their link to go join. So just stop doing that. We don't have to act like frightened little children. This, like I said, this culture of fear and reactionary bullshit is turning so much of the gun community into a bunch of nervous, just paranoid, just a bunch of Nelly nervous Nancy's. And it's just getting old. How many times do they have to tell you this is going away? And then it doesn't before you stop listening to them. And here's the thing. If tomorrow they say, guess what? We've just decided to ban pistol braces. Period. We're just banning them. Well, we'll fight that the right way in the courts. And we'll probably win. Because right now they're panicking because they're losing all their big battles. So they don't want to pick any new fights right now. In fact, they love to pick these little fights so that you'll stop paying attention to the big fights. Do you think Bloomberg doesn't sit and go, well, if we can get these people to panic and go blow all their discretionary money, sending donations to this gun group and that gun group and buying all these products that no one gives two shits about really, well, they'll ignore the actual fights that kind of go under the radar that could actually hurt us and actually give them back their rights. They count on that. People on both sides of this argument want the gun community running around like I said, like their hair's on fire all the time. They don't want to ever give you time to stop and think. They want you writing checks to big organizations. They want you writing checks to manufacturers to get more shit. And it's just not doing us any good. So like I said, I know this is a very long video and a very all over the place video, but it's just the way it is. Stop living from crisis to crisis. We don't have to do that. Stop creating drama where there is none. We're going to have some real battles. Right now, the battle over ghost guns is far more important. They've already been made, Nevada passed a law making them illegal, which is far more dangerous than anything they're saying about pistol braces, because that's them trying to redefine what an actual gun is, what a receiver is. All the time and effort that's been spent from, like I said, these big name gun groups, etc., and Military Arms Channel, and all these people talking about the damn pistol braces, they could have been paying attention to something that's real. They could have been telling you, hey, here's how you go donate to the fund that's actually fighting the fight at the Supreme Court for the California case or the Hawaii case or blah, blah, blah. But that's not what they do. Because they want, like I said, to keep you hopping from problem to problem. They want to keep you scared. They want to keep you reactionary because that's more profitable. And let's stop giving them that. Because like I said, no big change here. If you've got a non-compliant stock at home that you put a sight on or something and didn't know you couldn't, don't worry about it. Unless you're going to be asking for approval from the ATF to manufacture it, don't worry about it. And like I said, if they move tomorrow to just ban all pistol braces, that's a minor fight we'll fight, and we'll win it. Just like we're winning in the courts right now for the big issues. The right to carry a gun for self-defense outside your home as an individual right. The right to have whatever gun you choose to have, not what the one the states tell you can have. The right that you'll be issued a permit regardless of any other circumstances. If you're a citizen, you have one. Or better yet, like in a lot of states now, you don't need a permit at all. Those are the things we need to be focusing our energy on. Not these little distractions they're creating to draw us away from those things. Because like I said, it's not a good look on us. It makes us look like a bunch of reactionary, nervous Nancys, like I said. And it distracts us from the real fights. And even though it is fun to sit down and measure a gun and do the things, and you know, it's nerd shit, gun nerd shit, and that's fun. But at the end of the day, let's keep it in perspective and realize things like this are not the fight. This isn't even a real fight yet. It's things they keep saying they're going to do. Like, I've heard so many gun channels recently say, this is what they're going to add, or this line they want to put in there. What's not in there now? So how about we deal with it if they actually try to put it in there? And not, like I said, try to create a crisis when we've got a lot of situations that need our attention. Let's not start little fires over here when we need to be putting out our neighbor's house that's on fire. And right now, we've got the fire under control. We've almost beat it down. It's like a wildfire, and we've got it 95% contained. But some people want to go over here and start lighting bushes on fire and distract us. Let's not let that happen. Let's actually keep our eyes on the real fight. Let's keep things in perspective, and let's fight to get rid of the ATF completely and the NFA completely. But let's not overreact to these little things, because like I said, when we overreact to little things, the big things go undone.